Testing. Testing.
Wow, that was faster, huh? Like 5 minutes.
Have to reset them.
Yeah, they just need to reconnect. The system, the whole system was off today. Both sides, but it's actually the switch downstairs that was not coming back.
Everybody ready? We finally are. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Virginia City Council Chambers. This is a regularly scheduled Committee of the Whole meeting. We'll call this meeting to order. Today's date is Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. The time is 9:21 a.m., and we apologize for the delay. We had a technical difficulty. You'll be able to view this on YouTube channel. The TV is still being worked on, but we're going to move forward with the committee of the whole meeting. So we have a full council present today, and our staff is also available. We have a very long agenda today, so we'll try to get through it as efficiently as possible. And we'll turn this portion of our committee of the whole meeting over to our city administrator, Britt C. Bennis. Britt?
Thank you. The first item on the agenda, Mr. John McNamara from Wold Architects and Sean Lewis from Cross Anderson regarding the Public Safety Center project.
Welcome, Mr. McNamara and Mr. Lewis. John McNamara from Wold Architects and Sean Lewis from Cross Anderson. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Before Sean gives you an update on where we are with the construction project, I'm excited today to be here to kind of talk about the next phase of the project now that we're under construction. We do need to get going on figuring out what we need for furniture and equipment for the building. We have been carrying money in the budget, roughly about $600,000. That's been in Cross Anderson's budget from the beginning that is earmarked for this type of work. And so similar to the design process we embarked on, we need to set up some committees with the police department and with the fire department to determine what we actually need in the building in order to start operating the building, yet summer of 25. So we're actually getting to the point where we really need to get going on this work. And so in our original proposal that was accepted by the council, we did include our fee percentage for the furniture and equipment part of it. And so in the letter that you have in your packet it kind of shows you what we would propose as what our budget is for the furniture, which is we're earmarking roughly about $545,000 for the purchase of equipment and furniture. So that also includes anything that might be in the fire kitchen, any of the accessories that are in the building and that type of stuff, but it also includes office furniture and tables and chairs as we need them in order to have a fully operational facility when the building is ready to open up. We do keep a slight contingency in there for, the bidding process or the quoting process, depending upon what we do. And our typical process would be to work with vendors that the city is already familiar with. Perhaps for Iron Trails, you have some vendors that we should be working with, or things that would be purchased off a state contract to try to expedite that bidding process on there. And certainly if there are some things that can be quoted out here locally, we just need to, depending upon what the dollar amount is for that package, make sure that we follow, bid law for that type of stuff. And so I'm here today to answer any questions that the council might have, but we're really looking for approval to move ahead with furniture. Our next steps then would be to set up times with the fire department and the police department to get those committees set and go through where we left the design off, which was to show conceptually what furniture is in each of those areas so we can coordinate the electrical stuff. And to that point with the construction project, the sooner we can finalize those layouts, we have the greatest opportunity to make any changes that might come out of those conversations related to the furniture. So with that, I would turn it back over to the mayor and the council for any questions and feedback.
Well, thank you, Mr. McNamara. We'll go from left to right. We'll go from right to left this time. Councilor Johnson, and then over to Councilor Paulson. Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. Two things. One, the one thing I heard over and over again is comfortable beds for the firefighters, real comfortable bed, like not real comfortable, quality beds.
Yes.
Because they're sleeping when they can sleep, and chairs that are wide enough for fully loaded police officers. Those
Yes,
are the
both
two
of those
top
are.
priorities that I heard. And with that, I will make a motion to authorize Wold to move forward.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Councilor Johnson to accept the proposal provided for professional design services for fixtures, furniture, and equipment for the public safety building with a furniture budget of $545,200, a contingency of $20,000, and design fees of $34,800 for a total furniture and equipment budget of $600,000. Looking for support. By Councilor Freely. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a question. I don't know if anyone would know the answer to this, but in terms of the fee of 6% for the design fee, percentage fee, I guess, what was it for the Iron Trail Motors Event Center that we paid? And it would have been probably, I don't know if it would have been too the architect or to Kraus Anderson? DSGW. So was there do you know that, do you remember that? Is that fee standard, John? Because that seems a little high.
It's actually what we would consider competitive for that. It's what we consider it's new, so that's our typical fee percentage for furniture that we've, helped our clients out for decades.
So the 6% would be for Wold to meet with both the police and fire, the users of the facility, and to facilitate meetings discussing what type of furniture to bring in?
And also to facilitate the bidding or quoting process to get those contracts in place.
So you will be responsible for doing the whole bid process will
Correct.
be under Wold? Mm-hmm. Okay,
And any inspections and on-site work too.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Paulson. It has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. McNamara.
Thank you.
Mr. Lewis? Once again, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and councilors and staff. Again, I'm Sean Lewis. I'm the Senior Project Manager for the Virginia New Public Safety Facility for Kraus Anderson. And here with a real quick, short and sweet update. And also, we have one simple change order request to recommend this morning as well. And just a quick reminder of everybody to vote today. All right? It's a good day to make sure you vote.
Thank you.
With that, we'll go ahead and get started. So I also am sharing a PowerPoint up on the screen as well, and I want to point everybody's attention to that because the most exciting thing about our presentation today is we've finished the precast concrete portion of the building. So that's a real big milestone on any project, especially this one. So I wanted to pause and celebrate that and thank everybody for everybody's hard work, and I think that's a really big accomplishment at this point. It's exciting, and it's a big part on our project and our schedule, a milestone, and it's also really fun to kind of see that building kind of taking shape and coming together, and you can see progress out there. So, next picture is our roof work is well underway. We have a few different trades working in collaboration together, starting to get the roof. This is some rough carpentry up on what's called the parapet edge of the roof, and basically getting ready ahead of the roofing contractor to put down the roofing system. So that's well underway. Last week and again this week, we'll be insulating the roof, putting the roofing membrane down, starting to close up the building. That's now is the big race on any construction project right now of any size and complexity, is to get the building enclosed and ready for winter so that we can finish the inside through the course of winter. Pardon me, our screen share just kicked me off for a moment. So again, making really good progress there. I'll just keep going because I know that you're a little tight on time this morning. Also getting ready for in the second level. So again, the new public safety facility has a main level, and then in the middle of the building, so their apparatus bays on either side and the main part of the building are 2 levels. We're getting the second level ready for concrete topping slabs. There's a shallow topping slab of concrete that goes on what's there. And I wish my picture would show because it illustrates it well. So currently there's precast concrete planks that make up that second floor level. Over the top of that, we'll put a thin layer of what's called topping slab for concrete. Here's a good picture here. So that creates a nice, smooth, flat surface that for the flooring, the actual finished flooring product to go on top of. So you can see some of the imperfections, the joints and things like that. That all gets covered up then with the topping slab. So there's quite a bit of preparation that goes into that. And including that is MEP, or it's an acronym for mechanical, electrical, and plumbing contractors. The trades are out there getting ready for concrete slabs on the main level, so they're underground plumbing and electrical work, mechanical work on the main level, and also for the topping slabs. So we have some penetrations that go from between the main level to the second level, working through those types of items. Also, we're backfilling inside, getting ready again for concrete slab on grade. So the real summary of a short and sweet update today is there are a lot of things happening, a lot of good things happening, a lot of progress going on the site. Also, site work continues. So given the relatively mild fall so far, we're trying to leverage that as much as we can. And basically, the site utilities are about 90% complete. It's for underground utilities and things like that. And in the next picture, when it rolls over, you'll see we are working towards shaping the parking lots. The picture here is of the north parking lot. There it is. That's the north parking lot. We're starting to shape the parking lots. There's a few reasons we want to have that done ideally before Old Man Winter shows up. One is it caps the site and it gives a good surface for construction to continue in the wintertime. And then also in the spring, it helps reduce kind of the muddy mess you see on some construction sites. This helps kind of mitigate that. And then also when spring rolls around, we're that much further, and then basically we go into placing concrete curbs and start on the actual paving of the parking lots right away in the spring. So we want to get as much as we can done on the site. That's the goal right now before winter really starts to set in. So a lot of really good things happening. Quick overall budget update. I'm trying to share my screen, but it's catching up with me. Like I mentioned, we have one change order request to recommend this morning. And I also have the change order and contingency log like we've talked about the last few meetings, a copy of that. That'll catch up with me hopefully in a moment here. And we have $811,000 of contingency fund remaining still. Before we talk about this next one of $12,992.52. So one simple change order this morning, there are some existing manholes on the site that needed to be repaired or modified, improved. One of them was crumbling and just needed to be replaced. And then another one needed what's called a riser to kind of adjust the elevation a little bit of the top of the manhole. And again, we do recommend approval of this. It's $12,992.52, and that's all we have for change orders after a month at this point to bring forward. I'll pause there because we are recommending that for approval, and then I can
I'll move the
share.
approval of the change order.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lewis. Okay, Counselor Freely moves to approve the change order request, supported by Counselor Johnson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Please continue.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And then looking ahead, again, we have a lot of really good things happening right now, and there'll be even more work really starting to increase on the site there. We'll see a lot of workers happening and a lot of things going. We've got site work and grading as weather allows, like I mentioned. We'll continue on that, hopefully for a few more weeks, but basically as long as we can until the ground starts to get cold enough where we really can't work it well and efficiently. Roofing system, that'll be a few weeks, and then we'll have the roof insulated and closed in and weather tight. Underground mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, getting that completed. Temporary enclosures and temporary heat. We have temporary heaters ready to have brought over here as soon as Gary Francisco makes the phone call, basically. And that's when he's got spots for them to place, and we can hook them up and turn those on. And metal stud framing starts. So inside the building, concrete topping slabs and slab on grades, we'll start seeing the inside starting to take shape in the coming weeks as well. Finishing the mechanical, electrical, plumbing rough-ins in the walls. And window installation is also scheduled to start in the middle of this month. So start seeing windows going in. In the meantime, the temporary enclosures, that basically means in the window openings in the overhead doors will have reinforced plastic to cover that all up, so we can start turning heat on, and then we can continue work inside. And really get the building enclosed for winter. That's really one of our major objectives right now, in addition to continuing work concurrently with that. So we are on schedule, we're within budget, and the project's going really well. Any questions at all?
Yeah, I have a couple questions, but first we'll go to Counselor Johnson, and then I just have a couple of cleanup questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. When do the construction lights go in? When will the interior be lit well enough to see, or when you drive by at night, or I shouldn't say at night, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, will there look like there's lights on inside?
It should be in a matter of just a couple weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, good question.
Thank you.
That's it. Yeah, you're welcome, Councilor Johnson. I did also want to mention too, we are talking about trying to schedule a time for the council and then
Yes.
whoever else wants to come, the chiefs, to do a tour. Mr. Gary Francisco suggested waiting until at least we kind of maybe get a flat concrete surface in there so it's safe for everybody to walk through. Hopefully that's in about a month or so. We can do a tour for everybody to go through and see what's happening inside the building. And then we'll have lights for sure at that point.
Yeah, thank you. And that was one of my questions, Mr. Lewis said, if there's a schedule moving forward to allow me, some of the council, and even, if we just get some select stakeholders to come in and take a look as well as just to see the progress moving forward. So when Mr. Francisco feels that it's appropriate to do so, we're looking for that opportunity to invite and to see the progress moving forward.
Yeah, we are too.
Yeah. And my second question is just for, who is the roofing contractor for
Range Cornice?
Range Cornice? Okay, from out of Hibbing. Okay. Thank you very much. I
welcome.
appreciate that. Okay, any other questions from Mr. Lewis or Mr. McNamara with respect to the public safety building? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. McNamara, for making the long trip once again. Mr. Lewis, thank you, and look forward to your next update and the opportunity to tour that facility moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yep. Have a good rest of your day, everyone.
You all too, thank you.
Thank you. Item number 2 is Mr. Matt Reed, SEH, our engineer of record, for some change orders for the 10th and Avenue West and 13th Street South project.
Good morning, Matt. A lot of citizens are are very happy. So, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. I'd imagine they are. I am very happy as well. So, streets are finally open, and we just had a punch list meeting this morning with the contractor on 6th, and it sounds like those items should be wrapped up here in the next day or two. So that project will hopefully be shut down for the season, finish it in the spring. 13th Street obviously is open. They are working today on some of the final items there, and I'm hoping by the end of today or tomorrow that one will also be wrapped up for the year. So it has been a long summer around here. There's no question about it. I appreciate people being patient. And
Will they be removing the temporary barricades and those things they're laying down in people's yards and get that cleaned up as
yep,
well?
all the traffic control is going to get taken down as soon as all the work is done. That way it'll be fully open for the winter.
Thank you.
Yep. So to the agenda items, looks a little bit daunting with 4 different change orders on there, but a couple of them are a bit administrative. So I'll walk through and try to explain them as best I can. Change orders number 1 and 3 are actually partnered together. So when the project was bid, late in the game, there was a bid item added at the request of the state for some of the federal funding. There was an item that had to get added. I'm not going to get into all the details because it gets rather confusing, but long and the short of it, the contractor was supposed to bid that at $1 per hour is what was supposed to happen. It said it in the spec. They misunderstood, bid it at $100 an hour. Basically, it's for an employee. It's for a certain employee that has to be on the job. Category of employee. They bid it at $100 an hour. We reviewed it. State reviewed it. Nobody caught it. It went through. Contract got signed. Whoops. So the fortunate part is in the conversations I've had with Casper and the follow-up correspondence they've provided, typically you would expect in a situation like that, they would bid it at $1 an hour, and the remaining amount, they would end up bidding in as part of another item, unit item. In this instance, they did not do that. They bid it as they thought this was the item. So that's all on the up and up. It was an honest mistake on their part, and then when everybody reviewed it, it just didn't get caught. Because of the federal funding, we're only allowed to pay for $1 per hour for 425 hours using the federal funding. So what we have to do is this is change order number 1. We've got to change order out the $99 per hour to get it down to $1 per hour so that we can then categorize that for the federal funding. Then because of the documentation that the contractor provided, and this has all been through legal counsel review and all of that, so this is again all on the up and up. We are going to add the $99 back in, $99 per hour back in, just under a different pay item that is categorized differently. So it's really, this is an administrative exercise is really what it is. The city's not saving, losing, it's a balance for the city. The other thing to note is that you have a certain amount of federal money on this project. You have way more money eligible for or way more pay items eligible for the money than you have money available. So what's gonna happen is this $42,000 that's getting taken out of eligible federal money and put into city cost, there's other items that'll backfill in that $42,000. So you're not gonna lose any of your grant money. You're not, this is really, like I said, it is a little confusing. It's an administrative exercise. It's not costing the city any extra money, and it's not costing you any grant money. So it'll be a wash for the city. And we have been assured by the contractor in writing, in conversations, that we're not paying twice for the work. So all of that said, I know that's very confusing. There's a lot of this stuff that gets involved that gets rather confusing. I'm recommending that change order 1 and 3 get approved to adjust the math, really is what it boils down to. So tried to make that as clear as I could. I'm sure it's clear as mud. I'm gonna stop and see if anybody has any questions, and I'll try to answer them to make sure everybody's comfortable with this.
Thank you, Matt. I had some question about, before the meeting. When we got I'm satisfied. I completely understand it now, how that works. It's just administrative, as long as it's not costing us any money, and the information I've received is not saying so. Thank you. Councilor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. Matt, thank you so much for that explanation. And as I was reading, so this is like, it's on-the-job training is what, you're required to have that?
Yeah, so with the federal, there's a lot of extra requirements that come along with certain federal programs. This particular one has a number of them, one being on-the-job training requirements. It's part of the spec, it's part of, it's the ongoing way of trying to, build the workforce, things like that.
Yep. Okay, so, and with your explanation, I'm comfortable moving forward, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we'll take these in two motions. First, a motion by Councilor Paulson to approve 2A, change order number 1 for 10th Avenue West and 13th Street South, decrease of $42,075.
Support.
There's support by Councilor Motley. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now for change order number 3 under 2B for the 10th Avenue West and 13th Street South, increase of $42,075.
I'll move change order number 3.
Moved by Councilor Motley. Is there support by Councilor Beyondich? Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, then the next one, change order number 4. You might recall back in August or September, the council granted an extension to the substantial completion date to, this one I think was October 16th or something around there, 19th. They were all slated to make it, and then they were getting ready to pave, and they had sort of a catastrophic failure out at the bituminous plant. And it held up several projects, actually, but I will say I was in constant conversation with the subcontractor, and they were doing whatever they could to get that thing, and they actually got it back up online pretty quick. They were able to keep other projects moving with their smaller plant, things like that. It truly was just an unforeseen, oh no, at the wrong time. So they're just asking for another extension to get them to October 28th, which was Monday, last Monday. Yeah, I'm losing track now. At which point the project was paved and everything was ready to go. And this was just one of those circumstances where certainly I think this is a warranted extension. There's nothing they could do about it. So I'm recommending approving this.
I'll move change order number 4.
Councilor Motley moves to approve the change order number 4 to extend the substantial completion date on and before the 28th of 2024. Is there support?
Support for discussion.
By Councilor Freelieb, support for further discussion. Seeing as you seconded the motions, first Councilor Freelieb and then over to Councilor Johnson. Councilor Freelieb.
Still work continuing right at Widener Way. Is there an issue there that, for them to complete, or is that done as of yesterday, or?
They are doing some of the final punch list cleanup, doing some sewer televising. It's just, there's nothing wrong with anything. They're just finishing things up. So, yep.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Johnson.
For clarification, Matt, if we were not to approve the extension, we would still have the ability to not fine them or whatever the contract says. That's not a must, but a shall in the contract?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Johnson. It has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. Matt, so if we do this extension, if this gets approved, does that, is there more dollars allocated then for SEH to monitor the requirements between the time that we stated till the 28th?
No, nothing above what we've already talked about. We weren't on site because they weren't working.
Okay.
So
Okay,
it's-
so
it's-
there would be no more additional fees
No.
for that? Okay.
No.
And then I just had, I had a resident, well, I guess you wouldn't call it a resident, a building owner on that garage strip area there. The, is that a street or an alley? And is it called Widener Way? Okay. It's pretty torn up. And are there any plans to patch or repair some of the damage that was done to that roadway from the big trucks that were going through that area?
You can go look at that. Once they get everything cleaned up and they were still sweeping and doing some things, we can go take a look at it if there was some, we have some photos ahead of time and if there was some significant damage. And it is rough, Jim and I can talk, maybe there's some,
I think
patching we
that
can
would
do
go
or
a long way
something.
with the residents in that area as well as the owners of the strip on that garage. And I know that area wasn't the greatest road to begin with. So, but I haven't driven it since the road's been open, but if there's anything you can do to assist in that, I would greatly appreciate it.
yep, I'll look at it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Paulson. We do have some, before we accept the final completion date, we have a year in which to do that based on the project itself. And I'm sure there's some ancillary issues with respect to how they use that roadway system. If they contributed to that, we'll take some action with respect to that. And I know that particular right-of-way is on, on that new GIS system that they're looking for the sewer as well, because one of them is so elevated that it doesn't work. So we're working on that too. So thank you for that question, Councilor Paulson. So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, so last but not least, then change order number 5. This is the only one that really is monetarily going to adjust the contract, $5,148. Out in front of, in the boulevard, right behind the curb, in front of Target along 13th Street, they had their irrigation system there. Didn't realize it was there. Contractor found it. They snagged it when they were digging the curb out. They fixed it. And then they ended up snagging it again. Well, long story short, when they started putting pipes in and everything else, the hole was big and they had to remove it and put it aside. Typically, we've got private sprinkler systems on city property. And normally my recommendation would be to push back a little bit and say, hey, you know what, Target, you guys should really cover the cost to replace that. That said, throughout this project, Target has actually been a pretty darn good partner. They've let their construction crews park out there. They've let the construction crews use the parking lot. We met there every week in the parking lot for our construction meetings. They've been very patient. They've had extra traffic coming through their parking lot because of both 12th Avenue work with Taco Bell, all of these things. They have not complained once. So based on all of that, I think it would be a gesture of goodwill from the city's standpoint the work's already been done. They had it fixed, it's done. I think it would be a gesture of goodwill for the partnership that Target provided us throughout the course of the project to pay for fixing that sprinkler system. So that's why I'm bringing change order 5 forward for review.
And it's within the contingency?
Oh, yes. We have not had, so to that point, Mayor.
Right.
I don't think we've even touched a contingency on this project yet. This is the first change order that actually will have a monetary increase to on a $3 million plus project. So yes, we're actually doing very, very, very well. Yeah.
I wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Counselor Beyondich.
When you said that it was, the line was on city property, has that been remedied when this happened, or is it back where it was? So would it
No,
happen
they
again?
want it out there because that's the other thing. They use that sprinkler system to keep their boulevard looking nice. So that's also a benefit. And where they want it is out behind the curb. They've got some trees there and some other things. So you start digging into the roots, will kill the trees. So it's in a spot that would typically be there. Normally, as a city, we would request them to get a permit, things like that. But it was put back where it was before because that's the best location for it.
So is that noted in records that?
We have it noted in our records, yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Beyondich.
I'll move the approval of change order number 5.
Support.
Moved by Counselor Freely, been supported by Counselor Johnson to move and approve change order number 5 for the 10th Avenue and 13th Street project increase of $5,148. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
That's all I have.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Where Eric went, Eric was next on the agenda.
He took a phone call, so.
We keep the meeting going. We'll jump down to item number 6, approve the increase of $994 per month for the people service contract due to increase in the consumer price index.
I'm sorry, where is this?
Number 6. Eric has every item until number 6.
Under finance?
Number 6.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I didn't catch it. I apologize. So $994 a month for the people service contract due to an increase in the consumer price index.
Correct.
That's why, never mind. I'll reserve my comments for later. Sherry?
Thank you. This is already in the proposed budget for 2025.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Paulson?
Thank you, Mayor. So is this request for the previous 10 months in 2024 as well? Or is this a request beginning in 2025?
What does the agreement say, Pam? 25.
So this is for 2025?
Yeah, it's
and
figured
that's-
based on the CPI in the previous year, which is now.
So based on the CPI for 2024?
Right.
Okay. And that is in the contract, and the contract, I know that language is in there, but how long is the contract, when does that contract expire? In 2026, okay.
Sorry, 2025.
So this would be the final year we would pay CPI if we renegotiate that out of the contract. Okay, thank you.
Yes, and not to belabor this any further, but this was a significant discussion we had before where the previous city councilor determined that we should do the CPI as opposed to give them a digital contract because the CPI was always low. But, do this, it's significantly increasing, so that's why this is substantial. So it'd be prudent for us to renegotiate that at the end of the contract of 2025. So thank you. Councilor Johnson.
I don't remember what the actual percentage increase that is per month, if someone knows that off the top of their head.
3.5?
Okay, I couldn't remember seeing it.
It was like 3.5.
Right, thank you, Sherry.
Okay, thank you. 3.5. Thank you. So looking for council action or additional discussion. Councilor Freely
Just a question, Sherry, when you do budget something for that, does that take away from some other line item or line items to be able to cover the cost of that?
No, this is the enterprise fund.
Oh, okay. I'll move the approval then.
Support. Counselor Freely moves to approve the increase of $994 a month for the People Services contract due to an increase in the Consumer Price Index. Thank you very much. And supported by Counselor Johnson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And since Mr. Jonason's back, we'll go back up to item number 3 regarding the Sprint Medic program.
Okay, Assistant Chief Jonason, regarding the Sprint Paramedic Pilot Program, A, B, and C. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. How are you doing?
We'll see after your presentation. I'm sure. I look
This
forward
one's
to
not
it.
going to be painful.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's a good thing. So we've made a lot of progress on the Sprint Medic and program, and I did attach the PowerPoint from Mr. Dylan Ferguson, who is now the Executive Director or Director of Office of EMS, which is replacing the Emergency Medical Service Regulatory Board. And in that PowerPoint, it just kind of outlines what the Sprint Medic or alternate response model is. Like I said before, essentially we're taking vehicles and we're staging them out in other ambulance PSAs. With our proposal, we've been working with Orr Ambulance Service, Boys Fort Net Lake Ambulance Service, Cook, and Tower. So our plan is to put one Sprint Medic in an SUV covering Orr, Boys Fort, and Cook, and then one Sprint Medic in an SUV covering Tower's PSA. We initially started operating Monday through Friday. The Sprint Medic would be in their PSAs from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. So that means that that particular medic or medics would have to start their shift around 7 a.m., do their rig check, and then figure half hour, 20 minutes for travel time to the PSA, so they're actually in that service PSAs at 8 a.m. when they're supposed to be. Right now, we're not covering weekends as they feel with their staffing. Most people have Monday through Friday jobs. That's right now when they're struggling. As you can see, there's bylaws in here. Our plan is to form a board with everybody having representation, including the county, who is actually the fiscal agent or the grant of recipient from the state. City of Virginia is acting as a sub-grantee. So St. Louis County is the fiscal agent. All the money passes through them. So really that kind of takes the burden off of us in regards to that. So yeah, 3 things that we are starting to get signed, and all the other respective agencies have the same paperwork. They're pushing through their governments and or councils. I'll just go in order of what we have on the docket. The MOU between the participating ambulance services outlines everything that's required by the state, the parties involved. It'd be St. Louis County as the grantee. Supporting ambulance service is Virginia Fire, being that we're the full-time advanced life support service. Primary ambulance services, like I mentioned, Tower, Orr, Boys Fort, and Cook. Emergency response procedures are outlined in that. Indemnity, so each party agrees that it will at all times provide indemnity and hold harmless St. Louis County. Workers' compensation outlines as a state requirement. Essentially, we're going to cover our own employees. We're not covering other people's employees. Same with vehicles. If a Cook ambulance crashes, it's not City of Virginia's responsibility. If one of our Tahoe hits a deer, it's not the City of Cook's responsibility. Communications procedures. We also sat down and figured out what calls our medics would automatically respond to without being requested by the said primary service. And any call not specifically outlined will have to be requested by the primary service. They're really the way the state set up the legislation. They are the driving force behind this. We're there to assist them, so this is kind of a collaborative of what they want. / what they need. HIPAA compliance, communications procedures, yeah. Pretty in-depth. This is the second revision of the MOU that we've gone through and are now presenting, so I'm sure there's questions. I'll do my best to answer.
I have some information to disseminate to the council and everybody else about participation, but we'll go over the council first. Councilor Johnson, then over to Councilor Paulson. Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I apologize for not asking earlier. How is the Sprint team paged out? Is it a separate page or is it as a Virginia unit? I'm just curious to know what that looks like.
So our notification procedure for the Sprint Medic is each Sprint Medic will have mobile radios in their vehicles, portable radio, and then a pager set to that specific service or services tones. So it's not going to be a specific page for Virginia Fire. It'll be a page for Tower Ambulance, and then that Sprint Medic will listen to the call type. If it falls into the category for automatic response, they'll come up on the air with dispatch and mark themselves en route. If it's not, generally, depending on the call type, they might start meandering over that way to be closer in case the BLS service decides they want ALS. But that's kind of how it's going to roll for now.
And that makes perfect sense to me. The other question I have is, can you explain how the money trickles down from the county into your folks' paychecks? Is it pre-bill, post-bill? How does that
It'd
work?
be essentially reimbursement. So we're planning on monthly, calculate it through our scheduling software. We'll track all the Sprint Medic hours, and then we'll submit essentially an invoice to the county for X amount. County will pay it, then they'll go through the state, and then they'll get reimbursed by the state. Same with vehicles, medical equipment.
So this is another thing like that, we'll see the money go out, but we won't see the reimbursement for a period of time.
That's my understanding
Okay.
for equipment, being that most things are like net 30. We can get that invoice ahead of time, and then we'll send it to the county. So hopefully by the time we're paying it, the county's putting money, so we won't have
Okay,
similar to what we do with the USAR team.
thank you, Eric, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Sherry?
Eric, is this part of our independent billing service, or is this something we are going to be doing in-house?
As far as,
The billing, the cutting out the, figuring out the city's portion for employee cost and that, is that going to be done in-house? It'll be on our spreadsheet payroll?
the payroll, yeah, it'll be calculated as overtime, but it'll be tracked independently, so I can go in.
That we'll be doing it.
We'll just,
Right.
we're all, because with the Sprint Medic, the way it's designed is, should that Sprint Medic have to respond back to our own PSA for calls, we can't bill the state for those hours. So we're tracking it independently of everybody else's schedule.
Councilor Paulson?
Thank you, Mayor. This is just a fantastic thing. I'm so excited by this. So thank you so much for all the work that you've put into it. It was so much to take in one
Lot.
packet. And so if I could just ask a couple questions. So like, and just correct me if I'm on the wrong thing. So their fiscal year ends, is it June? Because the contract is through 2027, but their fiscal year, it looks like it ends June 30th, 2026. So we'll have a gap, but the contract goes through to 27.
So everything is operated on the state's fiscal year.
Right.
So right now, we're in fiscal year 25. So it's set to run through June 30th of 2027.
Okay.
the funding.
So that makes sense. Okay, that answers that question that I have. And then,
Oh, the funding has already started for the program.
yep,
Nobody's applied for it yet because most cities operate on the calendar year.
the calendar year.
Whereas,
So I thought it was lagging when in fact it's not. We would be actually ahead
yeah,
6
we're
months.
actually kind
Okay.
of behind the ball right now
Got
as
it.
it is.
Okay. And then in terms of what time did you say the hours would be? There would be staff
8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday
8
through
to 8
Friday.
with a 1 hour, like about a 1 hour swing.
Yep, with a 1 hour swing in the morning and then about a 20-minute, half an hour swing in the evening. I'm guessing if the sprint medic's not on a call, they're going to migrate towards the southern end of the PSA to be closer to home. So it's,
Okay, and then just so I understand, so we're basically going to be staffing Monday through Friday during those times. And then from our current staff, will we be actually losing staff that we would have to replace then? Or is it going to be out of a different rotation? How will that, could you walk me through what that looks like?
so we don't impact our normal daily operations. We're relying on overtime staff to carry the sprint medic program.
Got it.
So our daily minimums aren't going to change. Our daily staffing is going to remain what it is. And overtime staff will come in and they'll go to the respective areas. And there is a clause in the MOU that if, because of staffing, we can't send a sprint medic to that area, then all we have to do is notify whichever area it happens to be and say, hey, we had sick calls, we need to pull our sprint medic back so we can maintain our staffing.
So there's room
in
for
town.
flexibility then for us. Okay. And then the last question that I had, Eric, was, it sounds like there's going to be quite a lot of data that you'll be inputting, and we can do a lot of tracking and, looking at the numbers to see how successful the program is going to be. Will some of that data that you will be tracking allow us to compile, for the lack of a better term, a good argument for a potential taxing district or a potential, like, hey, this is what we've done during this program time, this is all the PSA, refresh my memory what the acronym is.
Primary service
Primary
area.
service area. So in that PSA, by having this program executed for, the length of the duration of it, will we be able to pull some decent numbers to maybe start a further conversation regarding the extent that Virginia does go out to the over 800 radial miles that we actually cover? And would that be something that we could pull and use as a tool to put a case together? Whether it's a taxing district or what have you, but
So our-
for better reimbursement overall?
Yeah, our hopes are, and we'll be collecting data from response times, number of times that the paramedic transported, so number of times that ALS was needed. Look at patient acuity, patient outcome. Every part of the state program is there has to be a patient satisfaction, way to gauge patient satisfaction. So by doing that, each of the primary ambulance services will be sending out patient satisfaction surveys to everybody that's been involved in the sprint medic transport. I don't know how much data we'll be able to glean as far as needing or helping with the taxing district. There will be a ton of data available, hopefully, to encourage the state to permanently fund programs like this.
And I think that's where I'm going. No matter if it's a taxing district or just more reimbursement or just somebody saying, hey, we're here, this is the job we're doing, and we're overtaxed in the first place,
Yeah.
taxed in terms of
We're hoping that
manpower.
it shows a need
Correct.
between Grant County,
Showing a
Otter
need.
Tail, which is one group, and then St. Louis County is the other recipient. We're hoping we can show we had, X amount of responses that were ALS. We're definitely needed out in the rural communities.
excellent.
The state should fund this moving forward.
Very
as a
encouraging.
permanent-
And then, Eric, in terms of like our vehicles, and we're talking shortly about cost of an ambulance, will this be taking a rig away from the city of Virginia?
No. So our plan, I put in a request to, I believe it's Ranger GM, forgive me if I mess up the name, the Chevy dealer over in Hibbing. They have the state contract
State
for vehicles.
contract, yep.
So I put in a request for 3 Chevy Tahoes.
And that would be covered under the grant dollars for the
We paid for it
program?
by the grant dollars.
Perfect. Thank you.
So it wouldn't impact our fleet, because honestly, we don't have enough vehicles in our fleet, and we don't want to take an ambulance out of service, so.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
welcome.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. So to provide some clarity, when this first developed by the recommendation by the EMS Task Force, which continues to meet until the end of December of 2024, which when their task expires from the state. There was some discussion about how this sprint thing, and it was very controversial to begin with, and there was a lot of information that was disseminated, and there was a lot of meetings that are held, both from the EMS task force, from the EMS board, the RB, now that's changed to the state legislature moving forward, and how this pilot program was going to work with Sprint Medical. And the idea was to ensure, the question that Councilor Paulson had was, it'll be data-driven, and it'll be data-driven information that's provided by us through, and the other, people involved in this pilot program. All monies and expenditures are reimbursed back to the city of Virginia. Equipment, training, radios, everything. It's not a cost to the city, it's on the state dollars, which was allocated to the state for that purpose. Vehicles are everything. And so all the costs associated with that is moving forward. So the purpose and the goal objective of this pilot program is to determine the data that's driven to find out what is rural ambulance all about. And by looking at the old 2002 Minnesota Department of Health thing, that's all listed in there already. They're going to try to develop the data, and I went to the Range Mayors Association meeting, and Senator Hochschild and Representative Lisgar was there and explained how this process was going to work and the process moving forward. And the goal and objective is to collect this data to eventually introduce some type of legislation or some type trigger the state to allow those who provide ALS service in the PSA area that's not being covered to allow the state to provide a tax at the state level. This is one of the ideas to accomplish that goal. So if at the end of this 2027 project, the state determines, yes, the rural ambulance service is suffering significantly, and so not putting dollars in for the volunteers, that's a separate thing. But this pilot program is to determine what can be done and how you can overcome what they call the 471 statute about having a taxing district with representation from each individual community to pass a resolution allowing us to tax, where they could come directly from the state of Minnesota to those PSAs that are providing services to these different entities. So that's part of that process moving forward. So with the paramedics in Virginia, and when we testified down at the legislature, there was many of them that they looked at, many were that pilot probably going to be. But because the city of Virginia, and the city of Hibbing too, but the city of Virginia has such a large PS area and has trained paramedics, and the document, the data shows based on the financial portfolio that we show them what our losses are and how that works. This is why we were selected for this sprint program. So this is really an exciting thing for us. It's completely reimbursable and on an overtime basis. So the only impediment that we might have coming across, the challenge that you have, Chief, is to make sure we're able to staff that from 8 to 8, Monday through Friday. And that could be expanded at a later time, but right now that's what the funding is for. But any expenditures associated with that Sprint Medical, anything we do is reimbursable. So, thank you. Councilor Motley.
Thank you for coming today, Eric. Just a couple questions as the conversation has transpired. I'm fully in support of this. I find it very exciting, but how do you feel this is going to benefit your department?
We're excited. I think it'll benefit our department. It'll be less intercepts that we have to run, less wear and tear on our ambulances. Buying a Chevy Tahoe or a Ford Explorer, whatever brand, is far cheaper than buying an ambulance. And not only that, but it gets us out in these other service areas, allows our staff to meet their staff and vice versa. Part of the plan is when they have training nights, our paramedics will be there to either participate and or if said service wants us to facilitate a training, we can certainly do that. Also, part of the budget is PR and education. So, community events, our Sprint medics will be there. They'll be able to pass out pamphlets, flyers, on what the Sprint Medic pilot program is so they can talk to the representatives, their senators, tell them about the goods, the bads. Hopefully it's all good. So I think it's a multi-pronged benefit to our department. We're
Okay.
not fire that everybody thinks we're coming to take over the PSA. The four of us or five of us are working collaboratively to provide a better service. Hopefully, the Sprint Medic program works out as good as we're anticipating. That's part of the bylaws. We're going to meet monthly, review calls, see if we need to make changes in how we operate or how we respond. And it's going to be kind of an ongoing shifting, and we'll make changes to operations as we need. Those changes will be tracked. We can report it back to the state. Hey, we tried this. I think we found a better way. We did. We tried it. So that way they can just keep compiling it into their big data pool and figure out how,
Okay, awesome. Quick. And then just to reiterate, if for some reason we were short-staffed in Virginia with paramedic, then we would not be providing a Sprint person somewhere else that day. Just, okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And also the goal and objective is to make sure that as we provide this service, all the equipment that we use, all this data that we collect, and all the equipment we use with our staff, the goal is at the end of this pilot project, any equipment that's left over will go to the agencies that are providing the service, so we would benefit from that as well. Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, Eric, thank you very much for all the work you've done on this, and you, SAR, and everything that you bring to the city of Virginia. One of the things I'd like us to look at, and I'm sure you've already thought about some of this, is looking to what we do when the grant ends. Yes, I think that as we get towards the end of the grant cycle, there's no guarantee there'll be another grant cycle, but how do we create this as a sustainable option, working in partnership with the other cities and the counties, and what does that look like? Who knows what the legislation looks like? For me, this is an opportunity to hire additional full-time people in the future who may live in one of those rural areas, and that's their full-time job, is staffing the Sprint car, which would create not overtime. It would be people working their regular jobs. It would provide better coverage for rural areas. It would provide that connection for us out there. So as we're moving forward and going through the process, I appreciate the new tracking software so we can track hours and see what it would cost us if it was a paramedic and that was their job. I think this is a great opportunity to be a national model for what we can do for our rural fire departments and ambulance service, volunteer services. So thank you for all that work, and as we get towards the end, you said this would end in 2027?
June 30th, 2020.
So it's a 2-year cycle. So, all right. Thank you very much, Eric.
To answer your question, Counselor, Chief and myself have discussed hypothetically if the state does fund this, or if there is funding for the Sprint Medic program, we would like to essentially build out a second division of Virginia Fire that would be Sprint Medic with how many ever paramedics we would need to cover whatever hours are requested of those. 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, or 7 days a week. That is definitely on the radar.
All right. Thank you, Eric.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other questions or comments from the council, let's take each on item 3A, review and approve the MOU for the St. Louis County Sprint Medical Pilot Program.
I'll make the motion to review and approve the MOU for the St. Louis County Sprint Paramedic Pilot Program.
Moved by Councilor Motley. Is there support? By Councilor Freelieb. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 3B, review and approve the bylaws for the St. Louis County Sprint Medical Paramedic Pilot Program.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Councilor Paulson. Is there support? By Councilor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, review and approve the billing agreements for the St. Louis County Sprint Paramedic Pilot Program with various other cities.
Support.
Moved by Councilor Freelieb and supported by Councilor Johnson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Before you run away, Chief?
Yeah.
Item number 4 is review the proposal to purchase a Pierce Velocity 100-foot Ascendant Tower ladder truck. And I have delivery in 26, but now we're saying it's 3.5 years for the build.
Yep.
So it's gonna be a little while.
That's, yeah, it's gonna be a while. So delivery would be 45 to 48 months as it stands. And when I stepped away, it was actually to talk to my Pierce representative, because November 1st, there was a price increase of 0.78%.
How much?
0.78%.
Oh, that's a 27.8%. Okay, thank you. You're gonna give me a heart attack there. Okay, thank you.
So I was hoping to get an updated proposal I could email out to you all right now, just so you'd have that exact number. But if you just take the sale price, the 2.459979, multiply it by 0.78, that's the new price as of November 1st.
Okay,
So this,
so what would happen with the old one then? The old
the old one,
ladder truck? Auction block?
there's a few options, yeah. Auction block,
Or would we keep it?
we could keep it too.
To be continued.
Be
I didn't
continued.
mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Yeah, there's a couple different options. We could sell it. We could trade it in and get pennies on the dollar. We could send it to auction. Yeah, we got three and a half years to figure that out. It wouldn't be a bad idea to consider keeping it as a reserve.
So what I would ask you to do then is, we're just reviewing the proposed purchase. We're not purchasing it, so you're going to be getting a price increase and provide us some additional information. But this is on the radar for us to review so far what we have. Is that correct?
I was hoping to get authorization to get a purchase agreement and get it signed.
Okay, very good.
Lock in prices, because there'll be another price increase coming.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Counselor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I'm just more in review mode. Because I feel like this is going to have to be a capital equipment bond, and there'll probably be other pieces of equipment that we would need to be considering, and then meet with our bond counsel and Northland Securities, I would assume, to talk about what that might look like. And then before that, I'd also want to know what bonds would be dropping off, if there are any going to be dropping off. And then I guess there's a whole conversation that needs to take place before, I would say, on both of these items, Eric, and because I think it's going to include a lot of other, or some other additional items, maybe police vehicles, I don't know. But I haven't opened up our 10-year capital outlay for a while. So I think that's something, but I want to be cognizant of price increasing too. But I think that it's a conversation that we should probably have. If, say we have some discussions and you get a go-ahead to, put it on reserve or what have you, does the city have to put money down on the vehicle?
Nope, city does not have to put any money down. City does not have to pay for it until we accept delivery of it. There are options for prepayment. You can pay percentage up front, and you can pay halfway through the build.
So it's not a requirement, though, that we'd have to put a down payment?
Correct. There is no
Right
down
now.
payment required. And then the way it works is if we want to prepay, it depends on what the interest rate is at that time, how far into the build process are they. So the earlier prepay, the bigger your savings are.
Sure.
But there's nothing.
Well, that makes sense.
No money down.
Got it, okay. And I guess I am still just in review mode, mainly because we don't know exactly what other items we're gonna need. And then I'd like to know when other bonds drop off and what we're gonna look like with our payments going forward. So I think that's where I'm kind of at with both of these, but I definitely know we need some updating. So thanks for bringing that forward, I appreciate it.
Yeah, and just for reference, this is replacing our current ladder truck, which is a 2003. So right now it's sitting at 21 years old. All the recommendations out there from Public Works, NFPA, OSHA recommendations that are coming down the road is 20 years life of service. And with a 3.5, give or take, year build time, we're looking at having a 25-year-old ladder truck. And so, yeah, just trying to get ahead of the game.
Okay, thank you.
A large expense, but, and as far as price increases go, I believe we're okay until January 1st. So we do have time to discuss it.
Well, before we go to Sherry, so for me, I'm prepared to get the ball rolling. There's no financial commitment for us, and if we can't afford it, we can't do this, you can always cancel. There's no cancellation issues with respect to that. And so, and the third area for me is that, you know, there, outside the city, we have a bond, you know, that we do within the bond, but outside the city with the pilot program, come in with some new EMS stuff, with the way a fire EMS is being couched over the next couple of years through the end of 2020, just not just ambulance service, but there are other sources of, and I know that the question is that, well, we can't rely on grants. That's true, but it gives us time to look at other entities. And I'm not pointing out these big companies that could participate if we're providing a ladder truck service to a specific area. They might help, you know, through their public service, maybe provide a partial grant to help pay for that. I mean, these are things we need to look at. In order to do that, I think we need to start moving forward with that. Seeing as there's no financial commitment or obligation to purchase at this point in time, I don't think it would hurt us to move forward with that and then have you provide some additional information as we work and our staff works very difficult moving forward to try to find some grant dollars as well, whether it's through the private or the public sector. So thank you for that. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor, and I couldn't agree more. That's exactly what I've written down here, is to make sure we're examining, as I know you already are, what the state, local grant agreements can be, and also seeking out financial assistance from our large community industrial partners. I think there's some great opportunities, and I guess my question would be, how will requesting funding through proper government channels be affected by us moving forward with this? My understanding is usually you can't pay any money, but you can ask for everything else in advance before you can, like if we ask for more money for the public safety center, we wouldn't get it because it's a project that's already started. So I just want clarity on what that looks like.
Or state money?
For government money. I know we can get money from private entities whenever they see fit.
Yeah, as far as state money, there is no state money available to
Okay.
fire apparatus. Federal government, there's AFG. We've attempted several times in the past to write grants to replace this ladder truck. All have been denied.
Yeah.
Problem with AFG is the pot is getting smaller and more departments are requesting it. So replacing a ladder truck, while it's considered high priority, it's not high enough priority when you have departments that are trying to replace open cab fire engines from the 70s. Yeah. So federal funding is extremely difficult. As far as public-private partnership, I know we do have contracts with a couple of the mines that pay us yearly for fire protection. Chief Frederickson did speak to one of them last year. We haven't seen an increase or a willingness to increase what they're paying. So,
Well, I appreciate your diligence on that, and with that, I will move granting permission to the staff to move forward with the process, knowing that at any time we can cancel if we need to.
Okay, Councillor Johnson moves to move this process forward. Is there support? By Councillor Freely. Further discussion? First, Sherry, did you have something before to add? And then we'll go to Councillor Beyondich. Councillor.
No, that's okay.
Carrie?
We can make up before it in discussions.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Beyondich.
Thank you. Have we explored collaborating with neighboring communities on these bigger projects? More of sharing with our communities, or is that?
we have tried collaborating several years ago, forming a fire district, and that failed. It's tough when community departments around us have budgets of $1,000. Try, but I don't know how fruitful those endeavors would be. They have apparatus that they're trying to replace, and they can't replace their own apparatus, so I don't foresee them being too willing to help us replace one of our pieces of apparatus.
And I love the previous conversation of working with the other communities. And would this be a recommendation from the administrator and finance director that what are your thoughts on this?
Sherry?
Yeah, Council, well, first of all, Councilor Paulson brings up some good question regarding that. I do have a question for you. I thought this originally was like about 3.5, so is there a discount by ordering ahead?
Last year, that 3.5 million came from a tower and a new heavy rescue. So now we dropped off attempting to purchase a new heavy rescue, and it's just the aerial apparatus.
Personally, I feel it is something that we're going to have to buy. We can't just kick the can down the street because we have another business burn on Main Street and we don't have a ladder truck. Nobody can afford that.
Fortunately, with the age, or excuse me,
No, go ahead,
with the age of our
Chief.
current ladder truck, we are seeing more and more downtime. This year alone, our ladder was out of service for over a month. And since then, we've had periods of days to weeks that it's been out of service. Because like anything, you try to purchase a new car, inventory is low, finding parts for vehicles is even more difficult. Right now, we have 5 somewhat major repairs slated for the ladder truck, and we've been waiting for over a month and a half, just in order to try to get parts for them to actually come up and work on it. And with the wear and tear on it over the next 3.5 years, I don't foresee the repair maintenance issues getting any better. They'll just continue to get worse as the vehicle ages. So I completely agree with Sherry that it's not a want. We tried,
Need.
Chief Lawyer, myself, tried roughly 10 years ago to request one. It was a want then. It was still relatively new. With the tower and the ambulance, their needs. In order to maintain our current operations, it's something that
Yeah, Councilor Beyondich.
Thank you. And for me, being guided by the staff, your recommendations, I would be okay with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Paulson, and then over to Councilor Motley. Councilor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. So is the motion to just move forward with continuing a discussion, or is the motion to actually authorize the city to enter into, it says, review the proposal to purchase a Pierce Velocity 100-foot ascendant tower ladder truck with delivery in fiscal year 2026, which actually would be a little longer. But is the motion to actually go ahead and engage in the purchase of that?
That's the motion.
And we don't know if we commit to that, if there are any cancellation penalties?
My understanding is there's no cancellation fee.
once we sign the purchase agreement, there will be penalties if we cancel
Sure,
it.
there will be.
We sign an agreement.
Once we sign the agreement.
Right.
That's what we're being asked to approve right now.
That was my initial, if it makes the counselors feel better. Price increase already happened. I would gladly sit down with anybody over the next month, and we can bring it back for approval to hopefully sign the purchase agreement at next December's Committee of the Whole.
I would love some more time to look into this, and I'm not trying to hold up. I totally understand how important
I
this is.
think 1 month is okay.
But I feel like it's just important for me especially to understand how we're going to put this bond together and what that might look like and other items that might have to come forward into the bond as well. And then also, I would love to sit down and brainstorm some options in terms of maybe donations or different funding opportunities that we may be able to collaborate and see. So I just would rather, before we sign a dotted line and commit and then find out, hey, we can't maybe afford it, and then we get a penalty assessed. So I would rather have some more time. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Johnson, Counselor Motley, and then over to Counselor Johnson. Counselor Motley.
I'm in agreement that we need another ladder truck. I also am in agreement with Counselor Paulson and maybe gathering a little bit information. I feel like, I don't know, for me, just instantly greenlighting this big expenditure day one has kind of got me a bit nervous. If this did move forward, this motion, would that possibly ruin our ability to seek funding elsewhere? Is it moving too fast? What does this look like? Anybody can answer that for me?
Well, I think moving forward with that, I think the concern that we had, I think with that motion, if I may, just my perspective is that, you know, we've been wanting to purchase one of these for a long time. We just keep kicking the can down the road farther, farther, and farther. The expense is significant. We have to find a way in which to help fund that. That's true. But I always want to make sure when we're going to do this, that, you know, the longer we wait, the more money it's going to cost us, so that if we can start the process moving forward without making a financial commitment, at the same time taking a look at, we want to purchase it, we need to purchase it, we intend to purchase it, we don't have the money to purchase it, so we're looking out for other funding sources in which to do so. But if we have to sign on a dotted line, I just as soon make sure that we have all our ducks in a row first, as long as we're within the window where there's not going to be a price increase. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, and I believe we have until January 1st. I'll double check, but until the next price increase.
Thank you.
November 1st, there was just a price increase.
Please continue, Councilor Motley.
So about 2 months, a little bit less than 2 months to make a decision on if we want this on the equipment bond for 2026 is what you're saying?
I don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, Britt, I don't think it'd have to go on an equipment bond until really that year that it would be projected to be delivered.
3 days after we have to pay the invoice.
So it'd be 2028.
Yeah.
Is there any way we could find out what might be dropping off the bonds
Yeah,
by then?
definitely. We can get
So
that
gather a
information.
little bit more information?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Unless you decide to pay earlier, then, you know, you get discounts.
And that may be a discussion we have when we look at the bond schedule. Maybe there is a period of time that we decide we're going to do it that year because this bond drops off and that's what our plan is. So we can discuss that. It's a great question.
Does that require, like, I know we already have a motion on the floor, or just some more information at this time? I don't know if I'm prepared to support the motion. It's not that I'm against the ladder truck as long as we have until January, by the end of the year. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Motley. Councilor Johnson?
Mayor, well, theoretically, you can't do anything until next Tuesday when we formally approve this. How long would it take to get a purchase order before the council to actually approve that contract?
I'm sure I could have a purchase order.
Okay. I'm going to leave my motion on the floor. I think it's time. We have to approve the purchase order as a council anyway. I think that these things can work parallel to each other. I don't think we need to wait to have you start working on it and others getting additional information. So my motion will stand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Johnson. So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Chief?
Only caveat is I leave for SUSAR training tomorrow, so I won't be back until
Councilor Beyondich.
Thank you, Mayor. Would our mutual aid play into this at all? Have we reviewed any of that
mutual aid in regards to
funding?
funding? No. Mutual aid is not set up as a funding stream. It's a manpower equipment assistance. So we provide mutual aid to surrounding communities. Same, they provide mutual aid to us during structure fires. There's no money exchanged unless it's declared by the governor and or the president to be a national disaster, in which case those mutual aid agreements can then allow us to bill governments for.
Okay. And when are those agreements, are they yearly? How often do we review those?
They're open-ended.
Yeah.
So there is no end date on it? Or is there an opportunity to make changes to them at any time, or?
I think that's one of the options we have to take a look at that for a potential funding source too.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Beyondich. Okay, there's a motion on the floor to move this forward to the council meeting for final decision. We can always, if there's any additional information you could provide to us before we get there, if this motion does pass.
Should have
And
the updated
we'll go from there. So we'll have staff work diligently with you in order to provide some context for us before we make a final vote. So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. And I fully support updating our equipment. I totally support that. For me personally, I need a little bit more time to go through the financial aspect of this. And so I just can't support it. I do support the pieces of equipment we need. Right now, I need more information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Paulson. It has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call, please, Pam.
Motley? Friedlieb?
Aye.
Paulson?
No.
Beyondich? Johnson?
Aye.
Baranzelli? Duffy?
Aye. So motion passes to move to this council for final discussion moving forward. It was 5-2 vote, correct? All right, thank you. Councilor Motley?
Just whenever, I don't need to wait for a meeting, but if we could just get an update of what might be dropping off the bonds in 26 or 27, and or both, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's prudent for us to have all that information before we make a final vote. If we have to delay it, we do. But moving it forward for additional discussion, and maybe there's some additional sources available. So just keep it on the table until the final decision next Tuesday. So, thank you.
And even though I'm going to Susar, please call me if you have questions. I can step out of class. I'll do everything I can to get you all the information that you need. You can make a comfortable and informed decision.
Well, will the chief, his fire chief, be available during that period of time then?
Well, he would have been here today, but he's got sick kids and he's sick himself, so. you
But
can also talk
he would
to
be
him.
available as a resource as well.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Assistant Chief Jonason. Anything else for the fire?
Last one is the ambulance purchase. Review the proposal to purchase a new ambulance. This one will be delivered in 26.
Yes. We're hoping to take delivery in January of '26. This is, again, not another want, this is a need. Our operations maintained. Going above and adding additional, we do need this ambulance. Again, we've had a myriad of breakdowns and equipment failures on the ambulance side. Our oldest ambulance is a 2016. Put on 250, 300,000 miles a year. So, and unfortunately, there was a late horse to the game. That's why you have two proposals sitting in front of you. Initially, we were going to recommend going with PSV. McQueen Demers came in at the very last second within the same price range. And then just talking with Mr. Rosfit, he's recommending that we remove the trade-in because we'd be much better off just selling it at auction. So,
Okay.
with that being said, I guess I'm asking, we can push this to another month because both companies have guaranteed a 12-month build time. So if we wait until December, we should still be able to take delivery in January.
So we're just reviewing the proposal, not making a motion to make the request to purchase, correct?
Correct. With
So then, is it in our equipment bond, the ambulance purchase?
No, this is brand new.
It's a budgeted item,
It's not budgeted.
not
No.
budgeted either.
And this is 2026?
it'll be 2026, not 25.
Beautiful, thank you.
And how much is this?
If you take away the trade-in, you're looking at roughly $405,000 With the trade-in, about 396,000 and change.
Well, if you sell it out, we would get more money
Yep.
on auction. Whatever, so thank you.
Yeah, instead of 9,000, we could get between 30 and 50, estimating. Significantly more.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Johnson, then over to Counselor Motley.
you, Mayor. I appreciate that this is going to be a year plus out. I also think it's a great opportunity when we pair this with the Sprint Medical and see how a new rig can, the mileage can be saved on a new rig as opposed to running up to Tower to Cook or to even or. So I appreciate that we're reviewing this, and I would ask that in a future meeting you come back with a recommendation and a full ask for purchasing this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Motley.
Just a quick question, because I've not been on the council long enough to be present for purchase of an ambulance. Is this always just an equipment bond, all our ambulances, or is there donations?
Unless it's an emergency, we just budget, is that correct?
In the past, we've usually budgeted, or we had a donation. Someone who was an author in the community actually donated. But most of the time, it's been involved in an equipment bond because they're so expensive.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor Motley. So we have reviewed it. We were asking you to bring back some additional information. You don't need that in the form of a motion, do you, Pam? Okay, any other questions with respect to the ambulance? Moving forward, we're looking forward to some additional information coming forward, so.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Anything else for Chief? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Item number 7 is review and approve the 2025 Msabi Humane Society contract.
Counselor Motley.
Sherry, what do we have budgeted, or what did we pay them the year 2024? I can't remember.
Excuse me, I was double multitasking here. For the Humane Society, budgeted $41,500, and that's currently what we have for 2024. So I just left it the same.
And they're
There was
asking,
no discussion. You don't talk to me, and the budget's ready to be put in, I'll put it in.
okay, so it looks like what we just received, they wanted 45,000 for 2025, an addition of 35 or
Be totally up to the council if you want me to change that. But that'll be an increase.
okay, thank you.
I think that was the same request last year to increase it to 45,000, if I remember correctly.
And the council decided on 41.5.
That is correct. Thank you. Counselor Motley, do you have any additional?
No, I do wish somebody would have been present from the Humane Society, but no, not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. So just want clarification, last year, or fiscal year 2024, the contract was 41.5? Okay, and so they're asking for that additional increase in total $45,000. And do we have they sent us their operating budget at all, or
I
continue
thought
to?
I seen one, no, they didn't send an operating budget, but the reports that you guys
The
requested?
reports I have received, but not, did we request them, I can't remember if we requested them monthly or quarterly, but it does not seem like I've received many. So I'd like to maybe invite them to come here before voting on this. And I also would like to know what percentage of their operating budget is the City of Virginia's fiscal contribution to their overall operating budget. I think that's a critical, important piece of information. And I know that they did bring in their operating budget last year, so I don't know if they have planned their 2025 budget yet, but I would like to see some of that financial information. And at this point in time, I'm not ready to vote in approval. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree at this point in time, moving forward. You should have come in the operating budget back in August instead of coming now, number one. Number two, not having an operating budget for us to look at. Number three, and the cost associated with that, we'll get that from Sherry, but we pay more than the other cities combined, so I'm not prepared to move forward with this request either. Councilor Johnson.
Thank you. To answer that question, on page 114 of our packet, it's an unlabeled number on there. It says currently MHS city and county contracts cover only 37% of the operating costs, so I'd be interested in knowing exactly what part of our percentage that is. I did the search this morning for Wasabi Humane Society, MHS, all of those, and couldn't find monthly reports. One of the things I would ask is that they label, or whenever they're sending us something, it be the same label every month so that we can go into our email and search for Wasabi Humane Society monthly report. They should auto-populate. There should be one for every month. I'm only seeing a couple random ones here and there, and I too agree that we should be seeing their annual operating budget. And I know we've requested numbers in the past, but it's a well-known fact in social media world that if you want to get rid of an animal, if you bring them to the Humane Society and say you live in Virginia, they record it as Virginia. So the numbers that indicating that Virginia is the biggest contributor of pets to that organization, I don't think is accurate. And if they have changed the way they do that and they can document by whatever that these are in fact pets from Virginia as opposed to the surrounding communities, I would be very interested in seeing that as well. Thank you.
Do we have time to have them come back to the next committee whole meeting before we make a final decision? I think that would be prudent for us to move forward and invite them to the next committee whole meeting as suggested by Councilor Motley.
I will so move.
Moved by Councilor Johnson to notify the Humane Society and invite them to the next committee, the whole meeting, to make a presentation for their budget request. Is there support?
Support.
By Councilor Motley. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 7 comes from the Street and Alley Committee meeting, which is held on October 31st, 2024. The first item was to proceed with the vacation of 7th Street North, which is just west of 6th Avenue. It's a platted, unoccupied road. Thank you.
And the purpose of it is to help facilitate a expansion of a business building project over there off of 6th Avenue, where Pohaki Lumber is moving forward with that. So we're vacating, but there still be some traffic moving further. But the Street and Alley Committee met, and recommendation to vacate the alley after discussion with staff was recommended that we do so and move forward.
No motion needed then?
Yeah, well, we need a motion, yes.
Move to proceed with the vacation of 7th Street.
Councilor Freely moves to move forward with the vacation of this piece of property. Is there support for that?
Support.
Councilor Beyondich, was also Councilor Beyondich. Any further discussion? Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make sure that the vacation of the alley does include access for us if we need to get back there. That is a long distance from the lake and other things back there. So I would want to make sure that we do reserve some rights there for access, please.
Thank you for that, Councilor Johnson. In discussion with our Public Works Director and staff, that will be accomplished. Correct? Thank you. So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Paulson.
Mayor, thank you to Pohaki for expansion. I think that's really exciting, and thank you to our staff very much for working with them. I just have a question on the actual letter that's in our packet on page 122. It just says we would like to officially ask to have part of 7th Street North vacated, and I wasn't at the meeting. So what is one part a street and one part an alley, or is it all street, or what part are they asking, and what part will the city be retaining?
Well, it was really wide, so they're taking a section of that, but access will still be available. Is that correct, Jim? I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, Jenny. Please, I apologize, Jenny.
Yep, that is correct, Mayor. There would still, it's to be determined exactly how that's going to be vacated and what the proportions would be. However, we would still be able to maintain access, and then they would be able to expand and
So
work on
there'll
their
be like
project.
a change of the legal description of the actual street width, and the length stays the same.
Correct.
And then we would retain, so I'm just thinking like for maintenance and other. Okay, and that gives them, it gives Pohaki enough space to do the expansion that they need to do, while allowing the city to still retain
Correct.
a portion of what we need. Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Paulson. Has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item, also from Street and Alley, was to motion to direct staff to work with Pohaki Lumber on the stormwater drainage system relocation to allow for the building expansion project. And we both have Matt, Jim, and Jenny that can help on this one. It was a great discussion at the meeting about this.
Yeah, we did.
Motley
and
and the mayor can agree.
I'll have Matt Reed give the rest of the council a little synopsis. Matt?
Yes, we did talk about it. I have looked at it since. It looks like the storm sewer is of sufficient size for them to be able to tie some of their yard drains into it. And they should be able to relocate it. Right now, it cuts across the property, so they're going to have to relocate it so that it doesn't run underneath their building. But it looks like there's enough grade between the manholes that they should be able to do that and accomplish what they need to do. So it should work out fine.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
I will move it forward.
Counselor Johnson moves to approve, to direct staff to work with Pohaki Lumber on a stormwater drainage system relocation to allow for the bidding expansion project. Is there support?
Support.
By Counselor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Matt.
And item number 10 was we had a request for regarding additional stop sign placement at Third Avenue and First Street North, and it was a consensus of the committee to receive and file that request for placement of additional stop signs at Third Avenue and First Street North.
So we had some discussion about this, about the stop sign there, looking at the traffic flow moving forward. So it was recommended by staff and engineering and that it wasn't necessary to put a stop sign there, that stacking was not an issue there. And so for the time being, it was recommended by the committee to receive and file a request for the placement of the stop sign at this time. Yeah, we need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion to receive and file for additional information later on by Counselor Motley. Is there support? Is there support? Support by Counselor Johnson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 11, under other items of concern, is to set a committee to review the solid waste proposals.
So we need to take a look at what our solid waste proposals are. So we're looking for, to set up a committee to review those things. And so what are your suggestions? Do we have staff do this and come with a recommendation? Or are you asking for someone from the council to also sit in?
The council determines it.
I mean,
We received 2 bids. If that
Pardon?
helps. We received 2 bids, if that helps.
yeah, usually get 2 bids, so,
Bids, yep.
I mean, do we have 2 bids now? Okay,
Responses to our RFP.
okay, so it's up to the council to determine, I think, I would say let our staff do our work and come back with a recommendation, but it's up to the council to determine if they want to have a committee with council's present to review these proposals. Councilor Paulson.
I would volunteer to be on a committee.
Okay, Councilor Paulson would like to sit in on the committee along with staff to to review the solid waste proposals, I guess. Is there another volunteer? Do we need one more? We can one or more? Doesn't matter. Counselor Motley?
If it's on a Tuesday, I'm available.
I'm sorry, what was that?
If it's on a Tuesday, I'm available. I'd volunteer if it can be done on a Tuesday, thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. So, we got to set up a committee, that'll be our staff, and there's, Counselor Paulson and Counselor Miley have, volunteered to sit on the committee as well, along with our staff to review these solid waste proposals. So, do we need a motion to approve the two? Okay, looking for a motion to approve. Can we do it at one motion? Moved by Counselor Freely to appoint Counselor Paulson and Counselor Motley as part of the review committee for the solid waste proposals. Is there support?
Support.
By Counselor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 12 is more informational. We are actively conducting interviews for recreation assistants. As you might be well aware, the hockey season started last weekend with games last week, correct, Brian? So we do need some rec assistants to assist us because most of ours have left on for bigger and better things. So at this moment, we have one we want to recommend to hire, and we will be doing interviews on Friday and Tuesday and bringing you back a final resolution on Tuesday for the council meeting.
So you're looking for an approval to hire?
Yep, to bring back the recommendation to the council on Tuesday.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Beyondich.
So that is in a form of a motion?
It can be. I mean, just to come back to Tuesday's meeting with the final resolution would be fine.
Okay. So how many rec assistants have we lost?
7?
And were they all going back to school?
Majority of them, yes.
And do we do exit interviews with them as they leave? And that's documented? Okay, thank you.
I will move the hiring of rec assistants to Tuesday's meeting with a possible additionals to be listed.
Moved by Counselor Johnson to approve the resolution to hire recreation assistants and bring those names to the city council for final approval. Is there support?
All support for discussion.
By Counselor Freely for discussion. Further discussion, first Counselor Freely, who made the second, and then over to Counselor Paulson. Counselor Freely.
So when we culminate this agreement with the party that may be taking over the concessions, will this impact these individuals then? Or is it premature to?
We still have work, like Brian's here and Brian can attest. We've had a couple of events recently where we literally had a 4-hour window to flip the room from a total setup to a different complete setup. So we need staff that can help us do that.
Okay.
This is the part-time staff that's hired on as a need basis and only used on an as-needed basis. We only schedule them when we really need them.
So it's far beyond concessions.
Far beyond just the
All right,
concession
thank you.
stand, yeah.
Thank you, Counselor Freely. That was your question as well, Counselor Paulson? Okay, very good, thank you. It has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Counselor Motley.
Just quick question, how many?
So far, we've got one name. They're doing 2 more rounds of interviews, so we might have.
Are you looking to fill all 7 vacated positions?
That would be ideal, but I don't think that'll happen. But
Okay.
it's hard to compete right now. Everybody's hiring. I just saw McDonald's is at 18 and Arby's is at 16. So it's everybody's hiring right now. It's hard to find that person. Taco Bell's going to be hiring again too. I mean, so we're all
And then
for that same genre of people that are
Gotcha.
available flexible hours.
So we had 7 rec assistants last year with the concession stand, and now we will not have the concession, and we're still looking to replace 7 rec assistants?
Well, we have the ability to hire up to 10 full-time equivalents. Not having the concession stand is going to be a blessing for us because we have other needs we need. We are getting busier, and we are getting multiple renters in the same day, which requires us to completely flip a room very, very quickly, which requires a lot of people to go grab chairs, tables, linens, reset. It's just a different model. And we also had reduced our utility workers. So we've been using rec assistants in different models to assist the utility workers too. So we've just done some things that they've become like fill-in people for the different hours of the days that we need things. Bumper cars, parties is a big thing, getting busier, which is great. That's what we want to see.
Okay.
And again, these are the people, we only pay for them when we use them. Not a salary, it's just only when we use them.
Is it a benefit eligible position? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor Motley. Counselor Paulson, and then over to Counselor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so I guess what Britt just said just spurred me on to maybe, so are our utility workers not getting the tables and chairs down? Because I thought that was, the utility workers' job was to do that heavy, any work that to be done with that moving dolly, and the rec assistants were there just for setup.
It depends. If the utility workers, if we only have 2 on for the day and there's 2 sheets of ice going, they're doing ice. And the rec assistants will have to go get whatever they need to get. The utility workers will help, and they always do help, but they are also have other things, duties that they have to do too, now that ice is back in again.
Okay, and I don't remember it being that way from when we did our original flow chart in there, how that should flow and who's supposed to be assisting and who's trained to do that. I'm just trying to understand what we're doing here.
Good luck. So are we. Because every day is different. Yes, our utility workers do help do the table setups, the room setups. So do our rec assistants. Look at today. We have a client, which is the city, that is in the ballroom today until 11 p.m. due to the election. We have a conference using 4 individual sections of the ballroom tomorrow starting at 7 a.m. Our utility workers get off at 11. So we're bringing in some rec assistants, we're doing some holdovers for the utility workers, because we have to do that full ballroom flip today or tonight for tomorrow's convention, which is a great problem to have. We want this problem to have.
Sure.
So
Just
it really
trying to-
depends on day to day.
Right, no, and I do understand that, Brian. I'm just looking more at the physical work and what the job descriptions, when we meet with the unions, they're very specific on what your duties are. And I just did not understand that rec assistants were responsible for actually hauling tables and chairs. I thought they were responsible for getting the layout and actually setting up the room with that layout. So I always thought that the utility workers did the heavy lifting and the transporting of where those get stored. They're stored in that area, and wheeling them out to each ballroom or boardroom or mezzanine or wherever they're going to be, and the rec assistants then would set those up. Because in my opinion, if they're doing different work and it's heavier duty work, I'm not necessarily sure that that falls under their purview for their job description. I know it says other duties as assigned, but I felt like when we had this discussion, the flow chart stated the flow of how that would happen.
I would say that transporting tables on the cart racks fall under both of their job descriptions as it's written. So I don't think we're crossing into too many shades of gray with who's pushing a cart full of tables from one room to another room. Every day is a day that whoever is available, who we have scheduled, who we're able to schedule to do the tasks, we get the tasks done to meet the customer's expectations.
Okay, so, and then is that clarified then when we are doing job interviews, what their responsibilities would be?
We do,
Just so-
in the interview, we give them a little synopsis of that, that you have to be very flexible, because one minute you could be working on putting out linens, and the next minute you might have to go run and set up this bumper car party, and then you might have to go do this, you might have to do that. So we make that very clear to them and understand that you have to be flexible and things do change. We could be working on doing a total room setup, and all of a sudden they call and cancel. So you just did all this work for nothing, and it just feels defeating, but that's how this That's how this
Okay.
process is.
Okay,
And we do
just-
explain that in interviews to them, that this is how this rolls.
That, or we have the room set up and the customer walks in and goes, oh, this isn't what I thought it would be when I looked at the map on paper. I would like the room flipped from one side to the other, and so we're in there rearranging the room before our customers arrive.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for helping me understand
Yes.
a little bit more of the flow. Thank you.
Counselor Johnson.
You, Mayor. I think it's important to keep in mind that the number of people hired does not equal the number of hours worked. Because it's such a flexible and floating job, it's, we might need to hire 11 rec assistants who work between them 20 hours a week as opposed to hiring 2 rec assistants that work 10 hours a week. So numbers of actual employees doesn't, to me, it does not affect my decision. Making sure we're providing excellent customer service is what does influence. And it's all about the teamwork. I don't know if anybody's had the opportunity to be there when they are switching from one thing to another, or in the middle of from one event to another event, or in the middle of a conference going from a full ballroom to 4 individual classrooms back to the full ballroom. It's all hands on deck. Brian's there, Jim, Jen, whoever's in the building who's employed by the city of Virginia, even some folks from other places come and they switch it because that's what our clients demand, and that is why we have the reputation we do. In matter of fact, on the day of the wellness fair, if I remember right, there was a big switchover kind of at lunchtime, and so some of our employees could not come to the wellness fair because they were diligently working on the customer service at the Iron Trail Motors Event Center. I just need to say I'm very proud of the staff over there and the work they've done as they continue to do their jobs and do them well, including booking multiple events on the same day. That's something that I've always wondered about prior to having this, why we were only booking park buildings for an 8 o'clock in the evening event and not leaving it open for the morning for revenue, and that's changed as well. So just want to give a shout out to the staff and let people know that working at the Iron Trail Motors Event Center is a great interactive job, and when you're there, you're busy, and when you're not busy, you're not there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor Johnson. Has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
And the next one is a similar situation. We will have the final list for you on Tuesday, but we're looking at hiring the digital multimedia technicians, which are basically the scoreboard operators, but we're also going to use them to assist us with small AV setups.
So moved.
Move to approve by Counselor Johnson. Is there support? Support. By Counselor Freely. Further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And because it's winter, another round of figure skating is starting for the season, and so we need to approve the hiring of our figure skating coaches.
Move to approve by Counselor Freely and supported by Counselor Johnson. Is there any further discussion? Counselor Paulson?
Thank you, Mayor. I will be abstaining from this vote as I have a family member on it. And then just to clarify, her name's actually on there twice, so that might just need to be clarified that she should only be on there once, and that I will be abstaining from the vote.
Okay, thank you. Moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, one abstention.
Abstain.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Number 15 is a request to set a special meeting on Tuesday, November 12th, 2024 at 5 p.m. to canvass the votes from the general election from Tuesday, November 5th.
So moved. Support.
Moved by Counselor Motley, was that correct? And supported by Counselor Johnson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. As I noted on the agenda, item 16 has been removed. Number 17 is the approve the resolution to hire a patrol officer.
So moved. Support.
A move to approve by Counselor Johnson and supported by Counselor Motley. Further discussion real quick. I see Renee Pasal from the WDIO was here last week doing a little interview on our police department and the fact that we have now have some diverse people working for us. We have now 5 female police officers on the department, and she thought that was, a goal and objective for us, and when we diversify these departments throughout the state. So kudos for the department for hiring top-quality personnel, because that's all we do, and the fact that recognition from the news media as well, so thank you. It has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries.
And item number 18 is bringing back the quote from Bar Engineering for the design phase, the 30% design phase of the Eastern Recreation Area, because as of yesterday, I did get confirmation that I received 2 grants to help pay for this phase.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Looking to accept the quotes.
So moved.
Move to approve by Counselor Freely. Is there support?
Support.
By Counselor Paulson. Further discussion? Counselor Johnson?
So when we're approving the quote, does that mean that we're spending the money to move forward?
Yes.
I will not be supporting this. I still believe that there's many more important things in Virginia, including housing and roads. And I understand this is separate money from a separate budget, but I think there's other things that we should be working on and not a eastern area. We just had a discussion about hiring some part-time people at a building that already exists. This property is going to require more people, and until we're in a place where we're ready to hire people at the recommendation of staff, I will not be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor John. I'll be supporting it because it's moving forward with the next phase of considering where we're going to be going. So I appreciate the little thank you. We'll go to Counselor Beyondich and then over to Counselor Paulson. Counselor,
If I may, really, really fast. I want to
Please,
point out
yes.
that, for the public's edification too, that the next phase is the landowner engagement.
yeah,
So
landowner engagement, yes.
that is a very important phase to confirm. And number one, that can we even really do this? Are the landowners that own the land really willing to assist us with this process? And it will also include meeting with the residents too. So very important next step.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Britt. Counselor Beyondich.
Thank you. Britt, would you be able to say where the 2 grants came from that funded this?
Iron Range Resources, the Department of Iron Range Resources and Rehabilitation was the first one, and then the Iron Range Tourism Bureau.
Thank you, and I would like to publicly thank them also for believing in us. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Beyondich. Counselor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so could you tell me the balance that would be not funded currently with the 2 grants?
$41,350
41
is the total grants we have received.
is a total of the grants, so
Yep.
roughly 21.
If we continue to go on. As you note in the quote, it's 3 phases. So at any time, we could stop at phase 2. Phase 1 may stop us on our tracks. If the landowners don't
Okay.
engage, we may be done
Oh,
right
so that's how this
there.
is going to go.
That's how it's
Okay.
broken out, yeah.
Okay, so right now then, at the phase 1 level, we are fully funded.
We are fully funded,
We would be fully funded at the phase 2.
Yep.
Almost.
almost.
Fully funded at phase 2. And it would not be until phase 3 that we would actually have to maybe resubmit some type of a grant.
And our
or
plans may
find-
change by then. You know, that's 2 big steps we have to take
Sure.
still. And so there may be something completely different.
Okay,
by
so
then.
right now, the approval that we're giving is going to be
start,
based on feedback that's going to be given from the landowners, whether that will direct us to move forward or
Whether this
not.
project can go forward or
Okay.
not even.
Okay, then I'm
And I think that's
comfortable
where
with
they
that.
believe, when Maya mentioning they believe in us, is they believe that we might be able to get this to go. And we all hope so, some way,
Yes.
shape, or form, however we can get it to go.
Perfect.
And it's a great first step that they're willing to invest it in it to get us to that point.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor Paulson. So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? First, Counselor Motley, then over to Counselor Beyondich. Counselor Motley.
Just quick, I wanted to echo thanks on what Counselor Beyondich had said to the 2 groups that gave us the grants, and also to Britt for believing in this and applying, and also whoever was involved with the city staff. So hopefully we can get this motion moving forward and attempt to possibly engage with the landowners. I continue to believe this could be catastrophically beneficial to the downtown business district. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor Motley. Counselor, we're good? So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
No.
Roll call, please, Pam.
Friedlieb,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Beyondich,
Aye.
Johnson,
No.
Aaron Cuffey,
Aye.
Motley.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1. Thank you.
I have no further items on the agenda.
No further items on the agenda. So there are no further items on the agenda, but there is other items of concern. So does any councilor have some other items of concern they'd like to bring forth before we adjourn? First, we'll go to Councilor Beyondich and then over to Councilor Paulson. Councilor Beyondich.
Could we get an update on the hotel? Is there going to be groundbreaking? I was asked this just the other day, this fall, or are there more hiccups happening that we don't know about?
Thank you, Councilor Beyondich. Councilor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. And Matt, I'm so glad you're here because this kind of involves you, I think. So I had mentioned to Britt, I had gone into the Iron Motors Event Center parking lot off of 9th and was kind of surprised by all the new one-ways with the trail coming out. And I have talked to a few people, and that's going to prove some big challenges with traffic and congestion. And I'm wondering if there's any way that we can not have a one-way. And I don't know if that has to go to street and alley or if it should be reviewed, but so I went and I actually took a video while I was driving, and my daughter's doing driver's training right now, and it's really confusing. So if you're coming from like the nursing home or the assisted living side, and you try to you go like the back end behind the building, you can't get back there. It's do not enter. You can't exit there at all. So you'd have to go around the building and make a left, go on to 9th, make another left, and another left into the parking lot. You cannot enter in from the back end of the building to that parking lot because it's do not enter. And I can show you,
No,
I
you're
can
right
show you
about
my
that.
video. And so it's very confusing, and I was even thinking even for voting today, hopefully folks, I'm sure they'll find their way out of there, but even when we're doing driver's training, it's hard to navigate if you're coming from that other side. So I'm not sure who made the decision to close that or to do a one-way, but I feel like it's pretty congested, and if that's going to remain that way for the trail, maybe we need to punch out a different exit on the, I don't even know, 6th Street, maybe we need to punch something out there. But you cannot access if you're coming the back way around the building, or even if you're coming around the roundabout and you want to make a left to get in by the ballroom, to park by handicap by the ballroom section there, you can't it's a one-way. You can't get through.
Yep.
So it was real concerning to me, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I drove through it, and it's super confusing. So I don't know if we could bring that to street and alley for a review, but I feel like that's probably not a true safe area either for trying to exit a parking lot if there was some emergency.
Yeah, I can respond however you'd like, Mayor, if you'd like me to give an explanation, but
Well, first of all, I think, you would give you an explanation, but this was a staff decision to go through street and alley before. I don't necessarily think this has to go through street and alley. This is going to be handled at the staff level. I don't think that's necessary to do so. Matt?
yeah, I was just going to say, this did come before the council at one point when we reviewed the plans for the trail. So it was, just to be clear, it was transparent with the council. I can appreciate we thought that all through when we were looking at this, that might become a bit of a challenge, and it's gonna take a little bit of getting used to. In order to have the trail there, unless we do something different, in order to have the trail there, that width has to be the way it is. So in order to accomplish that, we had to go to a one-way. If we want to go in and do some reworking, well, one, we could eliminate the trail, which I don't know that that's what anybody wants to do. We could go in certainly and do some modifications to the parking lot, as you're suggesting, maybe try to get something out onto Sixth, or even widen the exit out onto Ninth again, where then there is enough room for in and out traffic there, out of that parking lot. What we would do up farther, closer to the building, there's a pond there and things, so that would be a little bit more difficult, but, you know, certainly there's some things we could look at. I do question, though, completely aside, not trying to contradict anything you're saying, I'm asking the question because I don't know. Is that back way behind the ITMEC, is that supposed to be through? Is there supposed to be people going through there, or is that just for, okay, I didn't know. It was, correct, yes, for the buses, that's what I mean. That's why I was wondering if that was
EMS.
supposed to be buses only, or any EMS, or if it was supposed to be for through traffic. But either way, it doesn't matter, it's a moot point, it was just a question I had. But if there's some things, if the council feels that there's some concerns there, or some things, we can certainly look at making some adjustments there. It wouldn't take a whole lot of work to do it. So, yeah.
Well, I hear that could be in the form of a motion to direct staff to take a look at that.
So move, Mayor. Thank
Moved
and
by
thank you,
Counselor-
Matt.
Moved by Counselor Paulson. Is there support?
Support.
By Counselor Beyondich to have staff take a look at that and bring it back to the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Anything else anybody has
you have
that
something,
they'd
Mayor?
like to bring up before we adjourn?
Mayor?
Yes, Britt.
I have Matt up here because I want him to talk about the 2024 alley project, which is now going to be the 2025 alley project, which is, if you recall, we had the public hearing already one time, and that was the alleys that are on, is it 8.5, that area. We are ready to now go forward with 25, but now we have to redo the hearing again. So Matt needs to bring the resolution forward to the meeting next week to call for the hearing again, one more time, using the new policy. Remember, we changed our special assessment policy? Correct, Matt? Am I getting this right? And then we're planning to have that in December.
Yeah, so there's two questions that have come up. That is the easy question.
Yeah.
Does the council want us, if we're going to redo this public hearing, and I don't want to
Wanna
be too
use the new-
presumptuous, but I have a sense where this is going to go. Does the council want us to revise the documentation that we have to reflect the updated assessment policy?
I believe so.
I see head nodding, so I'm assuming, I knew that's where it was going to go, but I just wanted to make sure. Okay. Second question I have, Britt, can I get on that screen?
Sure.
I don't want to belabor this meeting, but if I could plug into this thing, I could show you, it'll be a lot easier to show it.
Too late. No. Okay.
It's kind of important, though.
Of course, thank you.
Otherwise, I wouldn't
Nope,
drag
thank
this
you, Matt.
meeting out.
Thank you.
Because in one of the alleys,
That 2.5 Street there behind the Freedom gas station or the Marathon gas station, is that what we're talking about?
we're over in that area, yep.
Yeah, I got some significant discussion, so to say, at one of the local clubs about that and who was affected by that, so thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
both a pro and a con.
Sure.
Why my
How do I get on there?
Why
Plug
is it
this
not
thing
the
in?
street but the alley? Why not do the street, not the alley? It's-
Okay. Make noise, so it should be working. Setting up device, there we go. Open something up, or will it just share?
It usually just shares it.
It's touchscreen, go ahead and do what you want.
Vice Chair,
Counselor Johnson?
thank you. For the record, I will not be participating in this discussion as it is my alley and I will have financial stake in it.
To him. I'll just explain it. Sorry, unplanned discussion here. So the situation that we have out there on the block of 8.5 Street between 6th Avenue and 5th Avenue, on the north side of the street, the city of Virginia actually owns the frontage of 8.5 Street, not the property owners. Okay? So this is one of the reasons we likely have to redo the public hearing. So when we pulled because your assessment policy is set up based on front footage of the alley or the street. So when we pulled the front footage, that pulled as City of Virginia, not the property owners that are on the other side. So I'll show you this if you can see it that far away. That's kind of what it looks like, where here's the alley. Red is the city-owned property. That's the frontage that's being grabbed. These properties are not going to be assessed. Here's 6th, here's 5th. 5th, 6th. This is 8.5. The properties along the north side, so those red areas, those are owned by the City of Virginia. So when we pull the front footage, the City of Virginia owns the front footage, which is what is typically assessed. These properties behind it aren't getting an assessment because they don't, your alley policy says front footage, they aren't technically getting assessed right now because they don't have front footage. I presume the reason that the city has these properties is because they wanted right-of-way. But it still has a parcel ID number. It's still technically a property, a parcel. It's not dedicated right-of-way. That may be what it says in the legal description. I don't know. But my question for you is, how do we want to handle this? Because should we, per your policy, it says the front footage. Well, that's the City of Virginia. It's technically not the property owners. So how do we resolve that? What is the council's thought on that? Because we can certainly include this front footage of the property owners behind it with the intent that this is considered right-of-way. But I just want to make sure that if that gets challenged, that you have the ability to follow through with that assessment. I don't know, maybe as I'm up here at the last minute putting Brian on the spot too, I don't know if you have any thoughts on it, Brian, Mayor, I don't know.
Brian.
Thanks, Mayor. This is a question that I want to look at because it does present some pretty interesting issues. Per the black letter of the policy, I think Mr. Reed is correct. So I may want a little bit of time to look at this.
I think it would be wise to do that, have legal look at it and then come back to us. But Councilor Beyondich and then over to Councilor Paulson. Councilor Beyondich.
Thank you. Not that it has anything to do with this project, but are we aware of other areas in town that may run into a similar situation? Or is this the only one?
I'd imagine there could be. Every project that we have done, I think, has had its different nuances of property issues. It's just the way I guess it is. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this in other areas. We haven't come across it, but I could see it happening.
Okay. I'll be looking forward to Mr. Lindsay's reply on this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. So I actually happened to have a conversation with a resident on the north side of 8.5 and 6th.
The north side of 8.5.
8.5 Street on the corner. It's where the 6 actually curves.
Mm-hmm.
And the dwelling is actually on the sidewalk. Like there's really no room there at all. So I think that the right of way in that one is actually sidewalk. And I will be very curious to see what you have to, how that will break out. but per our new assessment policy, will folks on 8th Street be assessed?
Well, I think that's a question for Brian to research.
Not
to
8 and a
determine.
half.
No, because these are streets, these aren't avenues.
Yeah.
The avenues
That's
are
what
the
I
ones that have the
remember.
goofy triangle
Yep, street and avenue.
The
situation.
street is the
Street is for straight front footage.
the contiguous, like, front footage. Okay.
Streets and
That's what I
alleys are front
remember.
footage, yep.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Yep, thank you, Counselor Paulson. So I think it would be prudent for us to direct staff and legal to take a look at this and come up with a resolution for us, a recommendation.
So in the meantime, as we get ready to set up this public hearing for right around December 10th, actually for December 10th, we're going to want to make sure we notify the property owners. Should we include these people
Yes.
for now
Over
on the
notify.
list and then we
Yes.
work through the process? Okay, that's what we'll do then.
And if, just to remind everybody, the first assessment notice, the first notice of the hearing does not come out with a dollar amount. They have to come to the hearing to get those estimated dollar amounts anyway, so you don't need them till December 10th.
Yeah.
This one is just the notice of the hearing, letting them know that they need to, that we're going to be planning to do the project again, so.
Okay, so then what we'll do is we'll kind of put a sidebar number to all of these properties just on the in case somebody comes and asks, we have the number, we know what their footage is, and then we just have to work through whatever the recommendation comes back from Brian on how to handle that. So, okay, that's easy enough. Thank you. That helps. I appreciate the extra time. That got us going where we needed to go. So thank you very much.
So we do need a motion to direct staff, or do we not need a motion?
Right, I'd be comfortable just with the direction of the conversation.
Okay, very good, let's do that. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Matt,
Yeah,
very much.
thank you.
And thank you, everybody. Okay, thank you. Any other items to come before the council meeting today before we adjourn? Well, seeing none, thank you, everybody. We will adjourn our council meeting. It is now, is it 11:30 or 12:30? 11:39 a.m., daylight saving time. Thank you very much. Restore standard time. We stand adjourned, thank you. Remember, everybody, vote. If you haven't already done so. That's where I'm going now. We stand adjourned, thank you.